Racism in the machine. Machine spirit is prepared. At least that's the way the leftists are writing about racism at this point. It really is in the machine, and it is to be found. And once we find it, then we can tell people about it, the ghost stories of past.
Well, yeah, well, the thing is, once we find it, we won't fix it. We'll just point at it and say, this is bad, give me stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure we'll actually even find it, because the thing is, I don't think they even have, but we're going to go through this. There's a bunch of articles I just found amazing. Firstly, I shall mention the premium podcast on Lotus.com being The Origin of Intersectionality. Of course, keep goddamn talking about this, because it keeps goddamn being relevant, which is that, yes, all of this crap does come from these people once upon a time. Anyway, we shall begin, because the thing that perked my interest, and the reason I wrote this segment, is I found a Guardian article that's just come out, and it reads like a leftist PSA, like a literal NPC update.
I mean, it's The Guardian.
Yes, but like at least they make an attempt.
Do they?
Yeah, to be like, this is news, I swear. But the thing is, like, this reads like something you'd send to your employees. So this is a article here saying, job discrimination faced by ethnic minorities convinces public about racism. Okay. What?
All right, job discrimination. Is this like an internal Guardian report that they accidentally published?
No, so it's some research on some research that shows that the public care about racism if you give them this one specific thing and don't tell them the details.
Okay.
But it reads like something you'd give to your activist to be like, this is the new script. This is the thing that works. We've done research.
Oh, these are those chips from the memes that we see put in people's brains.
Like, this is physically the chip we can see. And let's have a read, shall we? So researchers believe that they may have found the best way to convince the public that racism is real. Sorry, is a real problem and requires major change. Tell them about an Oxford University study exposing discrimination faced by job applicants.
That's a meme paragraph. This reads like a meme already.
Yeah, it doesn't seem real. Like I was checking this out. I was like, is this actually a real thing they wrote?
Are we sure the link's right? Are we sure we've not opened to the Babylon Bee, Michael? Are we sure?
No.
Okay, all right.
A groundbreaking project exploring how better to boost public support for action against systemic racism tested which messages best move people towards more anti-racist positions.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. That's been the tactic for ages. It's the old nudge techniques.
Yeah, but it's so weird for them to write it in like the national outlet for the public here. They're just like, yes, okay, so we are literally in nudge theory because we can't convince people of these things on the face of it. So instead, we have to find the most deceiving way to make people believe that this is the case. And we found it because we've had to do research. Do you ever have to sit and do research on how to convince your parents that something's true?
On how to be really sneaky. Well, to be fair, there was that thread that came out the other day from the what was it, DSA of America, where they were saying, like, how to convince your parents to become socialists at the dinner table. So yes, they do those things.
But that's the thing, like, you don't have to, like, take the I was going to say something, but no, I can't mention that on YouTube, can I? The BBC lies to people. Okay, whatever. Let's go.
Yeah.
As an example, like, you don't have to sit and think and brainstorm and like war game, like how you're going to convince people the BBC lies to people. You just show them it. It's like, you remember those BBC vans that are going to check if you got a tele license?
Oh yeah.
When was the last time you saw one of them in person?
Never.
Yeah, because they don't exist.
No, of course
BBC
they don't.
made them up. So there you are. So I don't have the war game about which is the most convincing thing. These guys do.
I do love that people occupy kind of the both parallel contradicting positions at once, which is most people, if you were to ask them straight up, it's the old stated versus revealed preference. Most people, if you ask them straight up, do you think the media lies to you? Will say, yes, absolutely. I'd be shocked if you got anything less than a 95% agreement with that statement.
Yeah.
But then they're still just going to read the same old things and the same old publications and just go along with it.
Sometimes, but I think that, frankly, that's a bit blackpilling to reality. Reality, I think, is more that there are plenty of people who have woken up to that and just don't.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of people, but I'm still thinking that the majority of people
maybe
are basically sheep.
Anyway, I just find it funny. It's just like you were literally writing it as if this is something for an activist script, but you put it in your newspaper. Cool. Anyway, reframing race. Yeah, that's not an activist organization. Literally reframing the conversation, though.
I mean, dude, they're just a charity. It just says charity.
Yeah, it's a charity. Trust me.
It's just a charity, bro.
Yeah, they tested dozens of arguments on almost 20,000 people and found highlighting research from 2019 showing ethnic minority applicants received less positive responses to job applications than white people was the blockbuster in terms of making people more likely to agree that all races and ethnic groups are equally as capable and are all equally as capable as each other, which that doesn't really follow.
Yeah, those don't follow at all.
the thing you found from this, if we're taking your stance, which is that people would take from it that people are being discriminated against, not that they're all equally as capable. I don't know why that would make people... That doesn't make sense, but whatever. By constraint using well-trodden language about people suffering from inequality was less likely to convince people of systemic problems, and even sometimes backfired, because it's obvious bollocks. Like,
Well, I think what they'll have found there is that it comes across confrontational, so people are more likely to just get defensive.
here's my leftist meme that's 1,000 words. Read it, and then you'll become a leftist, please.
No.
Just not going to do that. The need for better arguments was made clear by a... I love this. It's like, no one's convinced by anything we're saying, so we did some research. Like, I just... What kind of bug brain do you have to be? You think no one finds me relatable. In fact, people find me completely unlikable and impersonable and a complete liar because I spout nonsense every day as a leftist, and therefore I'm going to do some research to try and convince people that this isn't the case. Sorry, but just like the whole concept of this is just...
Making friends for dummies.
That's actually what they're doing. Anyway, so the need for better arguments was made clear, after everyone hated us, by a study in England and Scotland, which revealed widespread racist attitudes amongst 40% of people, believing that some races or ethnic groups are naturally harder working than others. No, there is no evidence for that.
I was going to say, is that racism?
I really don't think it's... I mean, number one, like, we've already failed at the first hurdle. Mixing races and ethnic groups destroys your own argument. If you're going to say something is racist, then it has to be on the basis of race. If we introduce ethnic groups, which aren't races, and ethnic groups are made up of various races at many points, we've lost all meaning and the conversation's pointless. Because the thing is, like, you can have multiracial ethnic groups, and at which point, well, where's the racism if that ethnic group's doing better than another? Like, you have ethnic group A, that's made up of all the races. You have ethnic group B, that's made up of one race. And ethnic group A is doing better than ethnic group B. Is that racism? Well, like, whichever race you're saying is being discriminated against is in both groups. Anyway, side point, but it doesn't make any sense. Whatever. They also say in here that the research also showed it remained easier to get audiences to accept racism. Sorry. As a real and pressing problem than to get them to support particular solutions. Yeah, funny that.
I know. You go, oh, well, yeah, of course racism exists. And then they go, and this is why we need to take all your private property. And they go, hold on. The Guardian's there like, I don't know, sounds pretty racist of you, bro.
Going, damn. We were so close. Anyway, they say, if we want to end racism, shut up, and entrench anti-racism, it is critical to build public demand for deep and irreversible progress, says Sanjeev Lingya over there.
Yeah, so we've just got to destroy your culture beyond the point of all repair, and
No
then we
reverse.
can solve the problems, maybe.
Because remember, these people don't think of racism in terms of what is racism. Their definition is not discrimination on the basis of race or, like, you know, unfair practice on the basis of race. No, their definition is, well, anything that causes differences between the races, whether that be justified or not, because remember, it's as a group. So if, for example, racial group A and racial group B are in society, and racial group A culturally decides to waste all its money, and racial group B doesn't and saves its money and buys a lot of land, this is racism, even though everyone was free to make their own decisions, and as a group they made these general decisions, which is mad.
Well, if the human race, if human nature as part of the human race, because we're all one, man, we're all just in this big hippy-dippy love circle, bro, and there's no differences between anybody. We're all just human beings, bro. If we take that the human nature is perfectible, then any problems that come about because of people aren't because of them, it's because of society, man.
Yeah, I can see the charity agreeing with Morgan Freeman. So if you actually wanted to end racism, shut up. That'll be the way to do it, Sanjeev. Anyway, the researchers found that the message with the most potential was when people in England were told of an Oxford University researchers had applied for more than 3,000 jobs with fictitious names and applicants, varying randomly by ethnicity but keeping the skills, qualifications, and work experience the same. White British applicants had to make 4 applications to get a positive response, while minority ethnic applicants had to make 7. On average, they say. It is an almost watertight piece of evidence about the existence of racism in hiring, say the authors. The experiment catches racism red-handed. Which tells me that you're taking this seriously.
Ooh, got your hand in the racist cookie jar, eh?
Yeah, these people aren't clearly motivated by activism. It's just like, who writes like that? An example of a message that made people less likely to think about racism as a systemic problem was one that said, "This country's black and minority ethnic communities still suffer poorer outcomes across education, employment, health, and in the criminal justice system. In order to achieve general racial equality, we must work towards an inclusive Britain in which we must all feel valued, enjoy equal opportunities, and share common sense and belonging." Yeah, no one likes your leftist meme. They're like, that big block of text there, that didn't convince anyone.
Sorry, I had an idea in my head when I said hand in the racist cookie jar, and I just thought to myself, I wonder.
Idea.
So I googled white chocolate is racist, and found an immediate girls ask guys is white chocolate racist, and then apparently an article from Fair Planet called "Racists Hate Chocolate, New Study Finds." So I can't be racist.
You've got to send me that.
I love chocolate, so I can't be racist. All chocolate lovers out there, vindicated.
That's not white chocolate. That's racism. Anyway, but it's just, number one, okay, I don't trust these people doing this research, but whatever. The side point being, I just find it amazing that their literal NPC updates are now something you can sign up for. There you are. That's how you get them.
Yep.
So, there you have it. And secondly, none of this makes any sense. Because let's take their research at the base of it, which they're like, oh, look, white people are more likely to get the jobs. Trust us, done some research. Yeah, well, my lying eyes tell me the opposite, because we have concrete evidence of systemic racism against white applicants across this country over, a period of about 12 years now?
Yeah, we even mentioned some of it yesterday in my segment, where the NHS is like, oh, you had a white person, did you? We're going to need some reasons for that.
Yeah, I'm bringing it back up just because, literally yesterday, as you say. I don't think a day goes by now without some story of, like, a white person just being discriminated against for being white. I mean, the most ridiculous was Dr. Ella Hill. She was in Rotherham, when there was a survivor of the rape gangs there, managed to get to the point of getting people to accept in the police force in England that maybe, just maybe, raping a white girl because she's white is a hate crime. Took a lot of work.
Makes sense to me.
Managed to get there in the end, I believe. And then she moved to Wales and had to argue with the Welsh police on the same point for ages, and they just wouldn't accept it. It was like, well, why is it not a hate crime? Because they're white.
Yeah. Well,
why is that different?
I think...
And they still haven't accepted it.
So, some of this is definitely not just purely, like, white, as in the racial category of you've got pale skin like you or I. A lot of it is just basically we hate English people.
Anglo-Saxons.
Yeah, Anglo-Saxons. Like, do you remember that... What was it? What was that name of that Frankie Boyle show that you covered last year? Was it New World Order? Did you literally just call it New World Order? Yes. And they brought on the panel of people, and it's like, oh, it's an Anglo's worst nightmare. We've got blacks, we've got Indians, we've got Celts, and it's like, well, to the untrained eye, a Celt would appear white, but they just hate English people apparently, or at least Frankie Boyle hates English people.
But also, when you talk to like the critical race theory Americans, when you dig down far enough, all of a sudden they have no problem with the Celts of this island.
Well, yeah, there you go.
No problem with Eastern Europeans.
They just hate English people and the Anglos.
Funny that. Anyway, and it's also just endless. Like, we go to the next one here. This is back when we covered this story. This guy ended up suing the police in Cheshire because they just told him, you're not having the job because you're white.
Oh, really?
Well, okay. To court with you. He won that one, eventually.
Hey, I'm from Cheshire, so I'm glad that he won. It's sad that this happened in the first place, though.
Yeah, and if you go to the next one here, it happened again. This December, another guy applied for a job, and they were like, we're not hiring whites. Another court case, I guess. But you've already been found guilty on a national level of doing this, and you're like, well, I'll just carry on. And that's the reality of my lying eyes versus your nonsense of, like, trust me, there's racism against people with brown skin because my research says so. It's like, okay, well, give me the headline of no browns need apply from British police.
Like, I'm sorry, the guy who applies and gets told, oh, sorry, we're only hiring brown people, he goes to somebody and he goes, oh, I've just been discriminated against, and the guy just goes, source. Source. I've got a study here that says only black people get discriminated against.
I did go and check out the source as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went and checked out
Was it some spicy sauce?
No, their research, and the research just made me laugh because there's a really funny line in there as well.
Oh, no.
Which kind of blows the whole thing into... Because the whole thing, remember, is about how it's all about racism, right? Well, they say in here, male applicants from India and East Asia, China, Japan, South Korea, and Vietnam, commonly referred to as model minorities, fare just as well as male applicants from the majority group, the British majority group, in case you're wondering. And white Eastern Europeans scored much lower for getting callbacks. So it's a weird kind of racism, where it just is like, well, we hate white people still. It's like, it's not racism then, is it?
Indians white confirmed.
Yeah. I mean, you can talk about, like, ethnic groups, but you can't talk about race, literally. That makes no goddamn sense. So the original Guardian article telling you that this is about race, well, no. Like, your own data doesn't even show it's about race. You got the British, you got the Eastern Europeans, both same race, both white race. Guess what? Big difference.
Positive responses.
And the Indians were overdoing them.
Okay, so generally speaking, looking at this, Indian, Chinese, Japanese, South Korean, and Vietnamese men seem to do even better than the majority group, according to this.
I think it's 24 for the majority group, and then
well,
19.
that's the pooled sample. But when it goes to men rather than dividing between men and women, look.
You're correct.
Under men, Indians and all of them, they get 23.3, whereas the majority group, English people, get 21.8. So they're doing better.
Really funny kind of racism, isn't it?
It's hot. I think it's because we just can just see that inner whiteness. That's what it must be.
The Asian face of white supremacy. Who is it? All Asians.
Every single one of them.
No matter the differentials. Cambodian, Korean, same thing.
Yeah. Any non-Middle Eastern Asians doing fine.
And the thing is, like, it's the fact that all of this is fundamentally the same kind of crap as always. The racism in the machine, as I'm trying to say. Which, if we go to the Fox News article here, just because this kind of crap keeps popping up. You know, queer feminist scholar argues. And I'm not going to read the rest of that headline. Because anyone even listening can fill in the blanks there. What do you think the queer feminist scholar is arguing about?
Yeah, if you get those words if you get those words at the end of a sentence, discard everything that came before.
Don't you know black women are the most oppressed in society? Oh, shut up. The thing she's whining about here as well, in case you're wondering the specifics, she goes on to whine about, what is it, Brittany Griner?
Brittany Griner, I think is the name, yeah.
Dumbass drug taker who went to Russia with weed.
Oh, that one. Oh, the basketball player.
Yeah, that moron.
The definitely not man in a dress.
No, the thing is, like, everyone in America seems to even agree, like, that there is no way they planted on her. Like, she definitely took that and is an idiot. And in which case, bye. But no, we had to trade Victor Boot for it, for goddamn Lord of War over there. Anyway, but I love that as well. It's like, we trade the Lord of War for a woman who's broken the law in Russia. Why are we giving up such a valuable target? Well, she is a black woman.
Intersectionality.
And this shows that black women are the most oppressed. There was actually, there was a headline from when the trade went down, because the Russian guy actually took the piss on Russian state TV, and he was like, well, we actually have a white man also charged in Russia from the United States, but he's not getting traded. I wonder why. Well, we all know why.
Yeah, they can just rub it in our faces, can't they?
Yeah. Let's go to health, because health is racist too. Racism poses public health threat to millions worldwide. Ooh, it's out there somewhere. Racism, xenophobia, and discrimination are fundamental influences on health globally. Okay, calm down, love.
Is this why I saw footage from, like, American hospitals and the NHS where they were saying, oh, we can't give you this treatment, we're saving it for minority people?
Oh, they've got some reasons.
All right, okay.
It's actually the opposite way around, Harry. They say in August it was revealed that black and Asian people in England have to wait longer for cancer diagnosis than white people, with some forced to wait an extra 6 weeks. Yeah, because you know the NHS nurse, when you go in, they get that colour swatch, and they say, well, do I treat you now or in 6 weeks? That's been
my experience. It's always been, you know, I've gone in, they've waved me straight through, you hear about all these waiting times, not for white people.
No, it's not because there's any other factors at all. The differential between groups. No, all groups are the same, aren't they? Yeah, you're a moron. And the thing is, like, even the machines know you're a moron. The racism is in the machines. We mentioned this before. It's the funniest story of the century. You know the racist AI stuff?
It's always hilarious whenever it shows up, because it shows up every single time.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny when it's like an AI makes up a story in its head, but when the AI is being used to look at bones of humans, and can still tell what race you are immediately from looking at your bones. Go to the next link here.
Calvin Candy AI can scan your skull.
Yeah. I don't know, it doesn't even need your skull. Like, you can use, like, random parts of your bones, like any part of your bone, and it's just like, yeah, that's a white guy. It knows. Anyway.
The skeleton looks like a...
It's incredibly racist. I can't believe this AI has been created. But
Disavow entirely.
It can predict a person's race with 90% accuracy, even though humans cannot do the same thing. Writes the National Post. And they are dumbfounded as to why. I love the headline, which is just, it can tell your race from an X-ray image, and scientists can't figure out why.
I like that with 90% accuracy as well. I'm just imagining it's like the fastest drawer in the West, the fastest racist in the West.
the AI is outdoing every white supremacist. Anyway, the study began after scientists noticed the AI program for examining chest X-rays was more likely to miss signs of illness in black patients. Did you see the problem? Like, the logic goes that, well, the NHS is not treating people with brown skin fast enough, therefore all the staff must be unconsciously biased against black people or something. The goddamn AI, with no feelings about race in the slightest, is missing the same thing. It's almost like there are differences in the groups in general, and not, racism in the machine. The machine spirit is not asking itself, well, I could just ignore this.
It was like when I think I remember people saying that phone cameras were racist because if they had trouble with the face unlocking, detecting black people's faces and not unlocking for them, and it's literally just because, well, the way that the light reflects off of people's
Have
skin
you heard
and
of
stuff.
photons?
Yeah, there's this problem with the cameras where they find it difficult to pick up light from certain sources. It's nothing to do with race, it's all the technological factors.
Speaking of technology, let's move forward because the technology is the problem in the highest possible way. Reliance on high-tech solutions to climate crisis perpetuates racism, says UN official. Oh, good. Their actual complaint here is high-tech capitalist solutions, because of course it is.
What's the solution here? Is it return to rain dance? Is that
Well,
what they're suggesting?
Do you want to know what this person does for a living when they're not being retarded?
Continues to be retarded?
A professor at law at University of California, Los Angeles.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah.
These people are awful because they are in positions of genuine influence, and they go on, like, if you're a professor of law, presumably you're teaching law to people.
Impressionable kids.
You're teaching retarded law to people who are then going to go on to continue to practice retarded law in the courts.
It's a special subset. You've got corporate law, tort law, and then retarded law. We'll end this off. Speaking of insane people, we'll just end this off with the Labour Party, who have also decided to be insane as usual. They're pledging to fight structural racism. Please don't be the Jews, please don't be the Jews, please don't be the Jews. We have to have this conversation again. They're saying they're going to fight structural racism in Britain because people who are black are 5 times more likely to struggle to pay their energy bills. Okay, at least thank God we're not talking about Jews. Just not want to have that conversation again. They go on to whine in here. It's not very interesting, so I'll skip over it, and we're out of time. But they're essentially just whining that, well, black people on average make less money than white people in the UK. They don't compare it to Chinese or Asian people, because then it gets even worse. So they just let that one slide and don't think about it.
They do always like to make the exception to miss out those people when they're talking about these subjects.
Yeah, for people who don't know, like the income brackets for the UK is basically just like people who are Pakistani, Black Caribbean, Black African, white, and then just like our lords and masters in terms of like who's making the most money.
Or wasn't it also
The Chinese and the Indians who are just dominating?
Yeah, wasn't it right next to the bottom as well, along with the Pakistanis? It was basically working class white people in England.
Yes. Next to the gypsies.
Where's our reparations?
No. Don't think about that. Anyway, but there's the racism in the machine, which, they're still trying to convince you is the case. If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Epoch series we do, this one on Christianity in England with Calvin Robinson. If you'd like to find out what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.